Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi everyone, this is Stuart Andrew Alexander, back again with another impact-making guest, and we're going to find out just why in a few short moments. But first, let's take a quick minute to discover a few facts and figures about him, and then we'll bring him onto the show. Now, today's guest helps people to communicate more effectively, increase their income, close more sales, and build better relationships. As an entrepreneur, speaker, and trainer with more than 10 years' experience in sales and a consistent six-figure income track record, he's a leading authority on sales and personality training systems. Using the B.A.N.K system, he increased the sales and income of his direct sales company by 300%. A recipient of numerous awards and recognition, he is best known for his sales income record of $500,000 in sales within 6 months. As a coveted keynote speaker and trainer, he teaches the B.A.N.K system to top sales organizations worldwide, and he's here today, ladies and gentlemen, to talk to us about some of the problems, some of the obstacles and misconceptions, and even some of the pitfalls surrounding the individuals and organizations for which he has a true passion for helping. So please, welcome to the show, personality specialist and founder of Erik Deitz Global, Mr. Erik Deitz. Welcome to the show, Erik. Are you there?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure.
You are so welcome, Erik. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and speak with our listeners and help them with some of their obstacles and problems. So, with that said, let's just jump straight in and start with the first question, Erik. Are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, good. So briefly, in your own words, Erik, describe who is your perfect prospect, or in other words, who is it that you help?
Well, that's a great question. We help a broad spectrum of people. Primarily my niche started in direct sales or network marketing, and it grew to real estate professionals, professional salespeople, recruiters, really anyone that needs to, make a sale or has a product or service to sell. And that's pretty much where we, our best prospects are.
Okay, so in terms of the people who you help, is that just business people, or is it also private individuals?
Primarily, it's professional and business people, but I've actually been asked to teach and speak in classrooms because we found out that one short story I could share with you is my son in school. They had said maybe he was acting out and he was difficult. And I realized with his personality type, after I profiled him with my system, that he just wasn't getting the organization that he needed in the classroom surrounding his desk. So he would act out. And I went in and I profiled the teachers. I showed them the system in about 20 minutes. And they realized they weren't communicating or giving him the order. Just shifted and changed that simple thing. Everything was smooth sailing. So we opened up into relationships, marriages, communication with children, and with business professionals.
Excellent. So while you're out there teaching this unique system then, Erik, what are 2 to 3 common obstacles that you find prevent the people that you help from achieving their desired outcome of being able to communicate more effectively and increase their income and build better relationships?
Great question. The number one that I see across the board is most people will give a presentation on their product or service based on their personality type. Okay, we know there's 4 personality types out there, and what I see is the salesperson or the entrepreneur will give it from their perspective and not necessarily speaking the language of their prospect. Okay, so it's in essence of like speaking a completely different language, and you're not asking the right questions, and you're not giving the right presentation, so you're only going to score and close a sale or be able to do business with a prospect about 25% of the time. And that's where you'll hear, I just didn't connect with that person, or I talked to 4 people and I only got 1 sale, it's because of that very reason.
I love the way that you've actually brought that down to a scientific fact, and you've had this figure of 25%. I mean, that when you say 25%, it just really sounds low. I mean, normally, like you said, I didn't connect with that person, and you kind of like say, yeah, well, maybe it was just a bad day or something. But when you say 25%, I mean, that is huge. Could you just expand a little bit on that for us, please, Erik, and what kind of impact that could have on your listeners who are only speaking to 25% of the personalities out there?
It's exactly what you said. It's about that connection. Most salespeople are taught what I call that lie of you're not going to connect with everybody. But if you actually learn this easy system, you can get the other 75%. Because it's simply, we're made up of all 4 of these personality types, and you just need to shift more, your integrity and you're being who you are, you're just being more of that personality type once you've determined what your prospect's personality type is. And with our coaching and our system, you can do that with a greeting, the way somebody greets you, with what time they show up for the appointment, what type of car they drive, and there's a lot of different clues that you can get from the prospect just in the way they dress and the way they address you that lets you know, hey, I'm talking to an action personality, I'm talking to a blueprint personality, right?
So in terms of those people who are fearful of asking for the sale of their product or service, what can you share with those people, Erik? Because I'm sure there are some listeners out there that would love to hear your insights on that.
Well, that goes back to the people that are usually scared of sales or afraid to ask for the sale is very common, and that's a nurturing personality type where they feel that it's a disservice or it's not okay to make money, and they really have a problem with sales in general. But what we teach is if you believe in your product or service and you stand behind it and you're a product of your product or service, that's hurdle number 1. So you want to make sure you believe in what you're doing and that you're a product of the product first, right? And that by actually offering your product or service, we teach you a way to be able to ask for the sale that's very confident, it's comfortable, and it kind of takes the stigma of sales out of the equation so that the person that you're dealing with is comfortable and you're comfortable, and we do sales scripts in how to do it and how to present that sale or how to ask for the sale. We teach you to speak their language and the personality type and use a script, a very simple script to ask for the sale and to close the sale.
Okay, Erik, so you just addressed some of the common obstacles that prevent people from achieving their desired outcome. Let's have a look at 1 or 2 of the popular misconceptions that might be out there that are preventing them from achieving their desired outcome of being able to close more sales and build better relationships. Can you expand a little bit on that for us, please?
Sure, and it basically stems back to what we talked about earlier, where if you're not speaking the right personality type, a lot of people will be intimidated because they feel like the information is not being received well. And it trips up a lot of salespeople because they feel like the presentation isn't going well. When it's just a matter of you're just not saying the right things to the person. Like a blueprint personality type wants to hear a completely different presentation than an action personality type. So, for example, if you're the blueprint type and you start your sales presentations with these facts and these figures and the longevity, and you're bringing in a lot of facts and a lot of statistical data, that's going to turn off the other 3 personality types, and the salesperson would immediately feel uncomfortable because they're going to sense that connection and that body language is going to be off. So it's very hard for that person to regain the interest and actually help you close that sale. One other point is I see when we're coaching our sales teams is that a lot of salespeople do a lot of talking and not listening, and that is another big pitfall because if you don't know what the client wants and you're just busy talking and you're not listening, you're going to miss the clues of how to solve their problem. Because a lot of times sales is simply there's a problem and you're offering a solution and an ability that the person needs. That's how you provide your value for them to purchase your product or service.
So in terms of some of the misconceptions that are out there in the industry that you work in then, Erik, a lot of people are taught to go for the no, get as many no's as you can as quickly as possible. Do you have something to share on that particular aspect of this particular misconception?
Yeah, it's actually part of our presentation that we do. We do this presentation via the computer or live, at locations all around the world. And our premise or our promotion is go for the yeses, okay? Because traditionally it's exactly what you said, go for as many no's as you can because it'll lead you to your next yes. Our standpoint is, how about we get a lot more yeses right off the bat by speaking the right language, profiling your prospect in as little as 90 seconds, and then switching into that personality type so you guys make that connection and you're resonating on the same wavelength or frequency that you can have a better conversation.
Putting yourself in the shoes of the people that you help the most, Erik, just give me one other big misconception that you come across while you're out there helping these people. And misconceptions can be either perceived as real, or even though they may not be. So can you name just one more before we move on?
Yeah, another misconception is just the word sales. It's such a great profession, but a lot of people have like a stickiness or an aversion to it because when they think sales, right, they think of like the car salesman where everyone always feels taken advantage of, or some type of salesman that is going to somehow get over on you so you don't feel good about the sale or the purchase, and people don't want to be associated with that. When in actuality, a good integral salesperson outsells a regular salesperson 57-1, and when it's a commission-based product or service, that is great income. And if your product or service is great, your clients need it, and you need to be able to show that value. So again, it's sort of like coaching for the person that has the trouble with sales because they have that negative connotation with the word and the profession sales, but that's the arena that they find themselves in. When sales could be anything, when you're recommending a restaurant, when you're recommending a movie, if you have children, they're selling you all day long.
They're the best salespeople on the planet.
Of course.
So, those are some really good misconceptions and things what people should be aware of. And I think it's great that you shone the spotlight on that for us. But in terms of pitfalls, things what people need to be aware of or should be aware of while they're pursuing their goals, what kind of pitfalls can you warn them of for us, please, Erik?
A lot of people get hung up on facts and figures when most people are not interested in the facts and figures. You need to be able to paint a picture. Your prospect really wants a picture of what is it that you can do, how long will it take, and how is this product or service going to benefit me? So if you can paint that picture and kind of stay away from, facts and figures and a lot of data, that's another misconception or pitfall that we'll see. And my analogy is it's like the microwave, okay? If you're selling a microwave, you're not going to get into the wattage and the schematics and how it works and what wattage it works at and where it's manufactured. Your prospect needs to know you put food in it and you hit this button and it gets warm. So based on the personality type, you want to come across with your presentation in pictures. Paint a picture for your prospects so they can understand the value of what it is that you do.
So when you say painting a picture, does that include asking the right questions that actually help your prospect?
Correct. For example, once I prospected and I profiled a blueprint personality, I know the questions to ask because they want to hear longevity of a company or service. They want to know more of the dream or the sizzle. Is it a new opportunity? How much money can I make? How quick? How good does it make me feel? How good does it make me look? So those are two wildly different presentations that you need to know about.
Let's just move on and talk a little bit about some of the fears. I mean, you mentioned some of them already, but could you just share some of the common fears that prevent people from building better relationships and closing more sales while they're out there in the field?
Sure. There's a fear of not being heard intelligently, which again, if you're speaking the language of your prospect, that's not going to be a problem. We see a lot of people that will have maybe a lack mentality, or we teach an abundant mentality, and basically living as if you've already attained your goals. What are your short-term goals and long-term goals, and then realizing them before they've even happened, where I see a lot of people aren't doing that. They're living with that lack-based, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to get this sale? How am I going to get prospects? And it's absolutely the wrong mindset to have, because you actually bring yourself into that mindset and produce more of that. When with our coaching, you're going to have an abundant mindset of already having everything you need and just walking through the door and following the steps to get there.
And of course, everybody just loves being rejected, right?
Of course. Come
on, let's talk a little bit about rejection, Erik. Please, go ahead.
Well, again, it just stems back from childhood. You know, when you asked the girl for the date and you got rejected, or you asked the boy for the date and you got rejected, no one wants to hear no, because it means there's something wrong with you, right? But one of the things we coach on is, it might be a no right now, but it could be a yes in the future. So to always, maintain that relationship, keep coming back around. We've had a lot of clients that told us no in the beginning for whatever reason, and then it became a yes later on. If you do get that no, which with our system the probability is less, of course, but there are some people that just aren't ready. There's a knowledge-based personality type that needs to really digest a lot of information, and they are critical thinkers, and they need to really think about a product or service. And a problem or a misconception or pitfall that your audience may run into is asking for that sale if they're aggressive to that personality type. And it's absolutely the wrong approach, because they really need to think about it several times. And there's usually 3 to 6 meetings that will take place before they're even ready for a closing situation to buy your product or service.
If I'm hearing you correctly, you have a system in place that enables you to determine different types of personality types or traits, so that you're able to position your offer at the right time, the right place, in the right sequence. Is that correct? You've got it down to such a science?
That is correct. Yes. It's actually,
wow.
A proven science, and we've been asked to speak at Harvard University at their entrepreneur program with this system because of the science of it and how we're able to define it. And, another clue that I'll share with your listening audience is some of these personality types, if you've missed it, okay, if you missed the personality, now you've rubbed them the wrong way, not only will they not do business with you, but their entire network of people will not do business with you, and they'll make sure that they don't do business with you. So if you get them to do business with you because you've, formed that relationship and you're able to close that sale, conversely, you'll get all of their network and their business because they're comfortable with you and you're speaking the same language as them.
That is really profound. I love the fact that you have that down to a science. So in effect, your sales become almost predictable, right?
More predictable. Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, it's just like speaking a different language. If you speak Japanese and I speak only English, the chances of us doing business are very, very small. But, for example, if I've profiled you and now I know, I could say, Konnichiwa, dotoemaste, I'm speaking Japanese, the probability goes up of you being able to do business. It's the same for sales in all of the personality types.
So let me just ask you what sometimes sounds like an obvious question then, Erik. Why would people want to achieve this outcome that we've been speaking about, the outcome of being able to communicate more effectively and increase their income, close more sales? Sounds like an obvious question, but why would they want to even achieve that?
Well, one thing, again, that I'll share with you is if you're in sales and you do not have the ability to sell, that is the number one thing, according to Robert Kiyosaki. If you're going to think about owning your own business or working for a business, the ability to sell is number one. But what I've noticed a lot of times is as I'm teaching this system, after I do my class or my webinar, someone will call me or someone will come up to me and say, listen, this is really going to help me with my spouse, or this is going to help me with my child. Because, again, another testimony for me, my former ex might not have been an ex if I had the system 10 years ago.
Okay.
Because I found out she's a blueprint personality and I'm an action personality, and they always attract each other in relationships, but they repel each other with their personality conflict. Because one needs to know what's going on and when it's going on and when it's going to happen. Where the other personality is like, hey, it's not going to happen until I get there. I can be 15 minutes late. I'm not really sure where we're going, but I'm going to get there. And that creates huge conflict in relationships and in business and in sales teams, because the other person feels disrespected because they don't realize that it's just not the right personality type that you're talking to, and it's not that you're not listening or not caring. You just don't understand that that's not what and that's not how they operate. You connect that, I've seen relationships improve, children, spouses, business teams, bosses, and their recruiting force or the sales force, because they can all communicate at a higher level, and it helps with all the production.
Could you just go a little bit more in depth, just go a little bit deeper into actually what is your solution?
Sure. Well, the system is called B.A.N.K, and you may be familiar. There's a lot of personality systems floating out there. Some of the more popular ones are DISC or Myers-Briggs. You know, there's the animal system where you're a lion. There's a seasonal system where you're a spring or a fall. I've been through all of them, and what we found is ours is just the simplest, most intuitive system. The acronym B.A.N.K stands for all four personality types. B is a blueprint personality. This is the rule and goal-oriented. The A stands for the action personality type, where these are the rock stars, the joke tellers, they win the vacations, they win the sales contest, they're all about the brands and fancy cars. The N stands for the nurturing personality, which is the calm, I will give you the shirt off my back personality. They really hate sales, they hate to ask for sales. These are the people that will give away tons of products for years, okay? They'll usually give away their product or service, and they go broke because they never ask for the sale. And the K stands for knowledge, which is that critical thinker, very high intellect. They need tons of information and science behind your product or service. They all greet you a different way, and they all want to hear a different presentation. So part of our system is we've made an electronic game, okay, because everyone loves to play a game. So what I do is if I'm at a networking event or I'm meeting someone for the first time, they'll ask me what I do, and I tell them, a profiler. And they say, well, that's interesting. What does that mean? And I usually have a good sense of what their personality is just by their greeting and the way that they look, and that's what we teach you. But let's say you're a brand new person and you have none of the training that we have. We have an electronic game that you hand over with your smartphone or your tablet. The person will look at the cards in the game, and then they sort them in the order that's most like their personality type in about 30 seconds, and they hand you the phone back. Now, two things happen. It asks for their email and their phone number. So for a lead capture, you've just gotten the person's email and their phone number. You've also got their personality code right in front of you. So once you've learned our simple scripts and all four personality types, you know exactly what conversation to have because they just handed you their code. It's right there for you to see on your tablet or smartphone. It also emails them their personality code, so all of their strengths, they're going to see their likes and their dislikes, and it's going to be like you read their mind. You're going to get a phone call that says, how did you do that? I need to know more.
With that said, Erik, if there are people out there listening to the show and they are thinking to themselves, this Erik Deitz, he sounds like a really interesting guy. Personality specialist. He loves to train people and speak from the stage, help individuals and organizations to increase their communication skills so they can close more sales and even have better working relationships and better family relationships. If they're thinking that, whether an individual or an organization or maybe even someone within a HR department looking to bring somebody into their company, what would be the best way for them to get hold of you, Erik?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm going to offer for your listeners a free 30-minute consult, which normally we charge, $97 for. That's going to be for your listeners free. And that's simply just, let me know with a phone call or a text if you'd like to set up a consultation. And I'll learn about your product or service, and we can dive right in there and see how we can help you. And they can reach me at 845-742-9407. And they can also visit our website at www.mybankcode.com/Erik, ERIK.
Okay, so that's www.mybankcode.com/Erik. Is that correct?
That is correct. And you'll see a few different trainings that we offer on there. And again, they can get the free 30-minute consultation just by texting me the phone number. And I can send a link to the B.A.N.K game where they can play the game and see how the profiling works and actually get their own personality code.
Perfect. Erik, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's been a really interesting interview. I find what you're doing is truly unique, and I'm hoping, I'm wishing that our listeners are going to find it equally or even more interesting themselves. Now, before we leave, Erik, any more final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, just, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. And I really need people in this type of industry because it is a great space to be in, and a lot of people with it. So we love to get happy clients and make, whatever goals you have, we love to help you achieve them. It's proven, we're getting it done. The track record speaks for itself. So if increasing sales or your income by 300% is of interest to you, definitely give me a call. And it was a pleasure talking to you today. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.